Hey everyone, it's Paul from Canadian Woodworks and Legacy Lumber. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to take you through a whole tour of the operation from the sawmill to the kilns to the wood shop. So let's dive right in and check out what's going on. First up, we have our 1992 Wood-Mizer LT40. That's right, this thing is 30 years old. If you've been following along, you know we put an electric motor on it. We actually cut the sawmill in half and extended it. But today we're cutting the simple stuff. 5/4 Canadian black walnut out of fairly small logs, and we're getting it stickered, getting it air dried, and it should be heading down to the kilns, ready for your Christmas cheese boards. So here we are at our number 2 sawmill, but actually it's number 1 in my heart. This is our custom made wide cutting sawmill. We can cut 72 inches wide, 25 foot long. From what I understand, that's the widest cutting sawmill in Canada. That's a bandsaw mill. This has a 2-inch wide blade, 25 foot, 8-inch long. It is a massive, massive blade. And it's all electric, which is really nice. Drives electric, goes up and down electric, and of course, electric motor on the blade, 20 horsepower. You've seen this before if you're not new to our channel. If you are new to our channel, we have a lot of Slaburday videos using this sawmill, creating some beautiful live edge lumber. So this is the mill house. It's connected to the lean-to that's covering over our big sawmill and our Wood-Mizer. In here, we have our sawmill blade sharpener. This is a Wood-Mizer BMS 250 sharpener. What does all that mean? It means it's actually some of the newest technology used to sharpen a bandsaw blade. It uses a CBN wheel, which is basically a scientifically engineered diamond applied to a wheel. It is also a full profile wheel in that the entire wheel is the exact shape of the bandsaw blade. So it comes down, sharpens the back, grind, the gullet, and the face all in one shot. Pretty awesome machine. Literally saved us over $60,000 now in blade costs because we're able to sharpen the blades so many times before we need some new blades. So I love this machine. It's a great tool. It was a decent investment when we bought it, but it's really paid off in the end. Logs. We mostly sawmill urban salvage lumber, so we get our logs from local tree service companies, either one at a time or sometimes an entire log truck at a time, depending on the company. A lot of those logs will not go to a typical sawmill because they don't want to sawmill them because of the metal involved inside the logs. For us, the value that we're creating from these logs is worth it to hit that metal, and one reason we use a bandsaw sawmill blade because it's cheaper and we can sharpen it very easily and quickly. So we have a couple 100,000 board feet of logs in stock. So we get the logs in, we sawmill the logs, and then we're gonna sticker the lumber. What does that mean? We have these spacer sticks that go in between each layer of wood that allows the natural air movement to travel through the wood and then start removing the moisture from the lumber. The next step from here is going to our kilns, so let's go check those out. I think you might have guessed what we actually burn in the wood boilers. We actually burn the wood waste from the logs that we sawmill. Now we're doing live edge lumber almost all the time, so we're just cutting the top of the log off and the bottom of the log, and the rest is pretty much staying onto the slabs, of course. But you can see that pile of wood right there is actually the sawmill scraps for about half a day of sawmilling on the Wood-Mizer. Especially when we cut 5/4 charcuterie type material, we do generate a good amount of waste. We cut it up a little smaller, let it dry out, and we toss it into the boilers. We have 2 of them here on site. They're both made by Empire, and these are their large models designed to heat an 8,000 square foot shop or home. One is connected to the floor of that shop where there's 5,000 feet of 1/2-inch piping where the hot water flows through and warms our feet to our delight. Kiln number 2 is hooked underground all the way to the kiln that we showed you earlier, and that hot water is flowing through the radiator in the kiln at about 160 to 180 degrees Fahrenheit. So we have a 300-gallon water jacket that's surrounding this fire. It's a stainless steel chamber, so we don't have to worry about any rusting or leaking. And I talked about the water being between 170 to 180 degrees Fahrenheit. That's because this little flap right here will open and close depending what the temperature is. So it'll shut the fire off when the water hits 180. It'll open this flap back on. The natural draft will start the fire back up and heat the water from 170 back up to 180. Had to think about that one, folks. So we're gonna head down to our kilns. We have two different types of kilns here. We have a conventional kiln, which is also called a heat to vent. In that kiln is a radiator with hot water, which then transfers the heat inside the kiln. All the heated air then goes through the packs of lumber and then vents out a hole in the end of the chamber, taking the moisture out of the wood with it. That is the simplest kiln that's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. Now, we also have a second kiln, which is the most newest technology in kiln drying, called a radio frequency vacuum kiln. I'll give you those details when we go check it out. So here we are. This is our conventional heat to vent kiln. All it is a 40-foot insulated shipping container. We have a 3-foot by 3-foot radiator in there that has hot water flowing through it, which is actually heated by our sawmill scraps. And then we have a bunch of circulating fans that take the heated air, travel it through the wood. As it goes through the wood, it's slowly removing the moisture, and at the very end of the kiln, we just have a tiny little vent that moisture then floats away. Okay, so this is our radio frequency vacuum kiln. The components are a chamber, which the wood rolls into, the door gets closed, vacuum pump turns on, pulls out all the air inside the chamber, and we're actually able to boil the water out of the wood at 38 degrees Celsius. The other components of the vacuum kiln is a timber cart, which we pile all the wood on, then roll it into the kiln. And inside the chamber here, we have a 20,000 watt microwave, which controls the rate of drying. All right, so that's our sawmills, that's our kilns. The next step, of course, let's head into the wood shop. Okay, we're here in the shop. It is a 100-foot long by 40-foot long, basically a barn. There was actually livestock in here before we moved in. We dug the floor out. We put in a heated concrete floor, which is also heated from our wood boilers. But step one, and this has been a machine, a tool, a dream actually, that we've had for many, many years now. If you have been following along before my YouTube videos got deleted, you'll know that we were actually down in a smaller shop, a 50 by 30 building, where we first got this CNC, which is 16 feet long, and we can do a total width of 72 inches. We had it custom made to that size because we're able to sawmill up to 72 inches on the sawmill. So we wanted to be able to surface slabs flat, accurately, relatively quickly, and especially safely. We don't have to move the big giant slab around. All we gotta do is get it onto our CNC, balance the twist, and this beautiful 8.7 horsepower head with a surfacing bit, carbide insert surfacing bit, travels back and forth and makes the slabs perfectly flat without requiring any muscles, which is really nice. We then flip the slab over, rinse and repeat, and you're left with a perfectly flat slab. The Avid CNC, it's been a great, great addition to our shop. Although 99% of the time we're using the CNC to just surface slabs flat, it does have full capabilities of any other typical CNC. We're able to carve signs, cut out circles, squares, any of that really cool, very accurate CNC stuff you need done, this machine can do it. So next up, if the slab is under 37 inches wide, it goes through this beast. This is our 10,000 pound, 60 horsepower, 37 inch wide, spiral head, carbide insert, jointer planer. If you're a woodworker, and you probably are if you're watching this channel, this is it. This is it. This is the biggest planer I think I can own. Actually, that's a lie. We're gonna show you a bigger one in a little bit. But this is not only a planer, it's also a jointer. So it does both sides in one pass. And it is a real jointer. I'm able to adjust this table up and down. We can take up to 10 millimeters per pass, which is pretty incredible because of the horsepower. And this is just a dream machine. We're able to process about 500 board feet of charcuterie type material, which is 8 inch to 14 inch wide material, right out of the kiln, get it nice and flat in the morning, and we're done by lunch. So I told you I had a bigger planer than that, and here's a little brief history. I started with a 12 inch wide DeWalt, stepped it up to a 13 inch wide rigid planer, stepped it up to a 15 inch wide General International, which I swapped out the standard head for a spiral carbide head, and it was just pure woodworking bliss. I thought that's all I needed in life. But you know what? That 15, I kicked it out the door, upgraded to a 20-inch, and again, I was like, man, this can't get any better. But you know what it did? I found a Wadkin 24-inch planer, and that's what I used for a very, very long time until I went to an auction about 3 hours away from me, and I found a 32-inch wide German-made planer that literally went through World War II, was brought over after World War II, and used until about 10 years ago, where I was able to purchase it at auction. So I had a 32-inch planer for a long, long time. Then the 37-inch, and finally, I think this is the widest one I'm gonna have. This is a 52-inch wide planer sander. So what it has underneath this safety guard is a 52-inch wide spiral carbide insert head, and then it has 2 pieces of sandpaper. We usually have 80 grit, 120 grit, and the machine is 52 inches wide. So it's a dream to use. Full tables, full slabs go through this, and it's just awesome. Awesome machine to use. Literally 100 horsepower. So let's fire it up. It's alive. Okay, this is the planing head, sanding head, and finally the feed belt. Let's check it out. Woo! So at the heart of my shop is this SawStop 5 horsepower industrial table saw. It's been a dream to use. One of my main reasons for getting this saw is that I teach how to build my chairs. I've taught over 58 students now how to build the rocking chair, and a whole bunch more to do the dining chair and bar stool that I build. And the safety aspect of the SawStop, because I had a lot of students that have had 0 woodworking experience, it was just the smart decision to do on the safety aspect. But also, over the years, I've learned it is also a great saw. Cuts true, cuts straight, cuts square, and she hasn't let me down. It's been a great saw. Over here, behind my waste bins, we have just kind of a standard 8-inch joiner, spiral head. I actually have 2 jointers. We have a 24-inch that we're also gonna see, but this is really the one I use almost all the time. And it's just a cute little thing that works really, really well. Again, never had any issues with it. The spiral head, highly recommended if you're gonna be getting into woodworking. Either pick up an old jointer and upgrade the head, or just pick up a new jointer, spend that little extra money. I know it hurts the wallet, but some things you gotta do, because the volume level of the jointer is very quiet, and the finish you get on your wood is just so nice. Look how quiet this thing is. It'd be a little bit louder if I plug it in. All jokes aside, here we go. It's got some rattles. May need a little TLC. One of the next tools in my arsenal is an edge sander, and this is a tool that I use almost every day, one way or another, on almost every project that we do. Very, very handy to have a large sanding surface. You're able to use this end spindle to do inside curves, which is really nice, and it's very aggressive compared to a spindle sander. Here we have my spindle sander. This is like a 1981 Craftex from Busy Bee, which is a woodworking store here in Canada. They have a few locations. They're known for their cheaper machines, but what can I say? This is from 1981, still runs like a top. I don't use it too often, that's why it's kind of pushed over here to the side, but when I need it, old trusty, she does the job. This is a tool that gets noticed a lot when I do videos in the background, because if you're a woodworker, you know this is a beautiful bandsaw. This is an SCM Minimax MM20. What does that mean? It has a 20-inch throat, so we can cut wood that's 20 inches wide this way. And it also has 20 inches of resaw capacity. And I've used it all before, and it cuts dead straight. beautiful, beautiful saw. I do have a Laguna Drift Master fence on here that's very easy to adjust if you need to tweak your fence a little bit. So it's a great, great machine. And I mostly use this to cut laminations for bent lamination. And I'm telling you, it works really, really well. Now this is a tool a lot of shops don't have. This is a gem of a find, online classifieds, thank you very much. This is a 30-inch disc sander made by Wadkin, which was an English company which made some of the finest tools ever made. From what I understand, this was made in the early 1940s in England. It came over, and again, I was able to purchase this at an auction. It also has a spindle sander on the backside, but it actually needs some parts, so I've never used the spindle sander part of it. But this disc sander works so accurately, and what I like about it is the table is fully adjustable on a threaded rod. So to adjust any angles, it's just so easy. All we have to do is unlock it here, and just a quick little turn, you can see how accurately this table moves, up and down in fact. So I do use this machine a lot to refine some of the chair joints where the arms meet the back legs. That's specifically what this machine's great for. So as I was mentioning, I have my 8-inch jointer, which I use most of the time, but I do have a beast. I have a 25-inch jointer, which most of the time it's a table that I pile things on top of. So it's kind of pushed off here to the corner, but it is a really nice machine. Again, spiral head, but she doesn't get used, so I should uncover it and just throw some slabs across, because it is a joy to use. And then my least used tool in the shop is a 5-head molding machine, but when we do use it, we process like 10,000 linear feet of siding when we do use it, so sometimes 2 days of full use, just wood going through the machine. Really awesome. It can take fully rough lumber, and out the other end comes your tongue and groove flooring or shiplap siding or dressed 4-side lumber. It's a beauty of a machine too. So I have a standard cabinet style table saw, the saw stop, but I also have a 10-foot sliding table saw, which I didn't use. I actually bought this saw and I didn't use it for years. My dealer in Mississauga, Rob at Concept 13, I actually had it stored down there and he was using it. And then finally I was like, you know what, let's bring it up. I want to see what all the rage is about with a sliding table saw. And I got to say, you can process a lot of lumber very quickly. So for any of our tabletops that are under 10 feet long, we will rip off the live edge on here, and it gives you a perfect glue line. So it is a beautiful saw. She's another oldie. I don't know what year it's from, but it is a Grigio. I'm gonna butcher it. Greggio. How do you say that? He doesn't know. Tony doesn't know. That's the kind of saw it is, folks. It's an oldie, but she still cuts perfectly square and really nice. The main thing with almost all of these tools is good fresh sandpaper, good sharp blades. Doesn't really matter the age of the saw, as long as you maintain the actual cutting elements of the machines, they're gonna live longer than you. So along the way also, I used to always cut steel with just an angle grinder and a cutoff wheel, but then we started cutting more and more steel. So I finally decided to get a metal bandsaw, and it is a very handy thing to have in the shop, not only for fabricating on projects that we're working on, but along the way you can see all the machinery that we have everywhere. We do have breakdowns, we have steel that breaks, so this has been very handy at helping me maintain all of the machinery. So I do have 2 bandsaws in the shop. I have the Minimax MM20, almost strictly for straight cutting. And then I got this massive 32-inch. Also has large resaw capacity, although I use my Minimax for that almost all the time. This is literally 9 feet tall, 7 horsepower, and just a huge table. So when I'm cutting curves on it, I don't have to worry about the wood kind of falling off the table and supporting it. It's a really nice, beautiful bandsaw. Again, online classifieds, pretty sure this was from an auction also. This is from 1980, and it's a Bulgarian bandsaw, and it's sweet. She runs like a top. And one of the last larger tools that we have in the shop, and also the newest addition to the shop, is a CNC controlled plasma cutter, also from Avid CNC. It's all designed around the same system they use, extruded 80/20, and it's a kit that goes together. The main difference is that you have this water table filled with water, where the steel goes on top, and we have our plasma head here instead of a router spindle, and we're able to literally cut up to 5/8 of an inch thick steel, which is just crazy. For us, the thickest we've done so far is 1/4 inch, and you can see very easily it can cut out some cool little squares, rectangles, triangles, all sorts of shapes and whatnot. So we've started producing table legs, and we cut the top plate on here for the table legs. And this is another tool that's very handy in helping maintain the machinery we have around this entire location, be it the sawmill, the forklifts, the tractors. If something breaks, we can actually reproduce a piece of steel, get it welded on, and then continue on working. So it's been a great addition to the shop. One tool I'm still learning, and I'm really hoping to push to its limits and see what it can do. So that's a tour of our operation, from the logs, the sawmill, the kiln, and all of our bigger tools in our wood shop. Hope you enjoyed it. Let us know which tool in here you would like to see a more in-depth review of, how we use it, more details about it in the comments below. But until next time, I gotta get back to work, folks. Thank you for watching, as always. If you haven't already, what are you doing? Subscribe already. And hit that like button. Bye.